D.E.I. is dividing Britain, not unifying it. This video, we're going to have a conversation, you and I, regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to compare it to a merit-based system. We're going to talk about where D.E.I. came from. We're going to talk about one of the most pivotal and critical quotes from an individual that lived 100 plus years ago. He was one of the most important figures of history, and at the end I'm going to share with you what he said, why it applies to this. Please hit the subscribe button, join this conversation. We are here to create a town hall, uncensored streets. Hit the subscribe button, give it a big thumbs up. Less than 10% now. Thank you very much for everybody that has subscribed. Less than 10% are subscribed. So D.E.I. This was founded many years ago around the idea of eliminating racism, eliminating discrimination, and these are very important negative areas of society that we want to eliminate. Me personally, as I was growing up, I suffered from different forms of discrimination, racism. So I have personal experience around this. Now, D.E.I. was fundamentally brought into different policies of our way of living, whether that is personal lives, professional lives, right? Companies started to really measure themselves on groups of people. Did they have, what percentage were men, what percentage were women, what percentage were from different backgrounds, religions? And people started to measure themselves on this. Now, from a merit-based society, merit is all about ultimately hiring people, rewarding people based off skill, based off their competence, based off their ability to get the job done in the best possible way. Now, for me, when you think of some of the most fundamental parts of way of living, whether that is health, whether that's education, whether that is technology advances, whether that is looking after societies and finances, fundamentally, it all comes down to your ability, my ability, people's ability to get the job done in the best possible way. That does not discriminate against anybody, any individual, any group of individual whatsoever. In fact, it doesn't matter whether you are a male or a female, or whether you come from one religion to another, whether you come from one background to another. Fundamentally, that doesn't actually matter when it comes to getting the job done. Let's give a couple of examples of this. In this past week, we celebrated VE Day, Victory in Europe. World War II was one of the most horrific times of our history, when the Allies needed to unify to defeat tyranny. Ideologies that literally are the most evil in our entire history. Now, during that time, it does not matter what background you come from. It does not matter whether you are a particular gender. It does not matter what religion you are. Ultimately, the objective was to gain freedom. Now, it would not matter who was involved in that unless fundamentally the job needed to be done at all costs. So from a war perspective, it's all about getting the best people to do the best and necessary jobs. Also, when you think of just everyday kind of life, right? When you go to the doctors and you have a health concern, something's going wrong, you're not feeling very well, you're trying to work out what is actually happening to you, you are not in any way concerned or bothered who is finding the answers for you. Those answers could come from a male, a female, it could come from somebody from a different religious background. Fundamentally, you're trying to work out why you are not feeling very well, and from a health perspective, you ultimately want to be better again. So it doesn't matter who's telling you what we could do to make you healthy again, right? It doesn't have any type of discrimination. You ultimately just want to be better. If you think about it from every part, there is an element of ultimately just finding the best person for the job. We go across many different areas, right? If you think of technology, if you think of trying to push engineering forward, British Steel, we live in this town with British Steel. Fundamentally, it's about making the best steel that we can, right? The best product. Doesn't matter where the ideas come from, where the technology breakthroughs come from. Collectively, whether that comes from an apprentice or a senior engineer or a male or a female or somebody who was born in the UK or somebody who was born not in the UK, fundamentally, you're just trying to create the best product that you possibly can so it can serve its customer and achieve the job. You go across all spectrums. If you had an issue with a boiler in your home and it's winter and you need the heating on, you need hot water for your children, you want a plumber to come round to be able to identify what the issue is and resolve that issue for you so that the job can get done. It does not matter to you whether that person is a male, a female, doesn't matter what religion or background that they come in. Fundamentally, you need that boiler to work so that you can keep your children warm, you can, bathe them, you can, have a hot shower, etc. So D.E.I. is fundamentally fundamentally based on the fact that you're putting people in categories and maybe you're hiring people based on genders, races. That, to me, and I'd love to know your thoughts, that to me is causing the very discrimination that it's supposedly trying to have actually corrected and resolved in the first place. People are now making decisions based on race, based on gender, based on these things, whereas merit is colorblind, whereas merit doesn't matter whether you are a male or a female. It doesn't matter whether you come from one religion or another. A merit-based society rewards those individually, but also collectively, it unifies. Let me give you an example of where unification comes from a merit-based. Let's talk the Olympics. Olympics brings together the world's best and most talented athletes, whether that is track and field, whether that is strength, whether that's swimming, across all the different disciplines. Those people come in to represent their nations. Great Britain, right? Brazil, USA. All different parts of the world come together, they nominate their best people, their most competent and merit-focused people that have proven it over a period of time. They have now qualified to go to the Olympics. What happens when somebody achieves a gold medal? What happens? The entire country is actually unified to celebrate that individual. When somebody comes home with a gold medal, the entire country, their hometowns, they put that individual in my belief, the best position possible to celebrate that individual's achievements. Somebody who's just won the Olympic gold, they have people on streets literally cheering, clapping, saying congratulations, you've done yourself, your family, your country proud. They're celebrated because of their merit. It doesn't matter whether that person has come home and it's a she, it doesn't matter whether it's a he, it doesn't matter what background, what belief set they have. They've represented their country and they are celebrated. The whole country is unified to that individual. This happens every 4 years. DEI, ultimately, if you think about it from an Olympic perspective, you are going to select people just based on background and not their skill. So therefore, it fundamentally kind of breaks down. Is this making sense? There are different areas of our living in society where diversity is really important. And we actually want that, right? So for example, we love the diversity in, for example, foods that we eat and spices, and being able to decide whether you want a, traditional English, what type of breakfast you want, or you want to go to a particular restaurant. You might like to go to an Italian restaurant. You might want to go for an Indian. You might want to go for a Chinese. There's a lot of benefits to diversity, for sure. But fundamentally, DEI actually causes, in some areas, potential harm and potential dangers. For example, if you're going on holiday and you're taking your family on a plane, you're just going to want the best pilot that's going to get you there safely. You're not interested on whether it is a male, a female, what backgrounds they're in. You want to get your family and everybody else on that plane to the destination safely, securely. And here's one of the most important people in history and what he said. A gentleman called Charles Darwin. He's probably one of the most important figures of our history. And he said this. He said, the survival of a species is not the fittest, it's not the strongest, it's those with the best ability for the adaptability of change. The survival of a species isn't from the strongest, the fittest, the fastest. It's about the ability to adapt to change. That ability to adapt to change, whether your environment changes, whether it's making critical decisions, whether you're driving a car and there's an accident in front of you, that ability to adapt to change is what actually creates the survival of the fittest, the survival of a species. And ultimately, that does not discriminate based on your gender, background, etc. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'd love to know what you think down below. DEI versus merit. What's your thoughts? Comment down below, let me know. My name's Kev from Uncensored Streets. Hit the subscribe button. Less than 10% of viewers are subscribed. We look forward to continuing the conversation out on the streets. Take care. As always, stay safe out there.